Elon Musk releases the fifth installment of the Twitter files, and we have a massive surge of illegal immigrants crossing the southern border. All of that and more here on the Bald Brad Show. Welcome to the Bald Brad Show. It is Tuesday, December 13th, and as always, support the show by hitting that like and subscribe button, as well as leaving your opinions in the comment section below regarding anything that we cover in today's episode. Your help and support would be greatly appreciated. Our lead story of the day is the fifth installment of Elon Musk's Twitter files, and this one's a doozy, folks. It is quite lengthy, but we got pictures, we got the proof, the evidence, and the receipts here showing internal communication between staffers. This is one you're not going to want to miss, folks. We have it packaged nicely for you. If you haven't already, hit that like and subscribe button. With that being said, Monday revealed that staffers believe that tweets written by former President Donald Trump around the events of January 6, 2021 had not actually violated its policies, despite the fact Twitter said it violated its policies, meaning they lied. Now, this fifth installment here was released by Bari Weiss, and she said for years, Twitter had resisted calls, both internal and external, to ban Trump on the grounds that blocking a world leader from the platform or removing their controversial tweets would hide important information that people should be able to see and debate. She went on to say, but after January 6, as Matt Taibbi and Schellenberger have documented, which we both covered here on the Bald Brad Show, pressure grew both inside and outside of Twitter to ban Trump. Now, inside we knew about, okay, the fight between staffers, which we're about to see. But there was also people like Michelle Obama and other elites putting their hand in the mix, calling for Trump to be banned as well, which we covered in the last episode. Weiss cited dissenters within Twitter did not want to ban Trump, including one who wrote this: maybe because I'm from China, I deeply understand how censorship can destroy the public conversation. You think you would listen to this guy, but watch how this next employee rationalizes this ban here. I understand this fear, but I also think it's important to understand that censorship by government is very different than censorship of the government. The First Amendment in the United States and similar legislation in other countries with similar concepts exist specifically to prevent the government from silencing the people. I respect that, but realistically, we impose far stricter rules on effectively everyone else on the platform. We started labeling/restricting his tweets when they became a threat to democracy. Oh, here we go. MAGA Republicans, the president's all a threat to democracy. You saw this echoed by Joe Biden himself many, many times. And seemed like that was our red line. Yesterday, he clearly attempted to overthrow our democratic system of government and showed no signs of remorse. Come on. These are these woke progressive leftists, these anarchists, these activists inside Twitter at the time. Unbelievable. If this is not a clear reason to suspend him, again, as an unhinged ruler attempting to subvert the most powerful democracy in the world, I'm not sure what would be. Shrug. So this is all internal communications. Well, Bari Weiss went on to say, again, after January 6th, employees organized to demand their employer ban Trump, meaning they're coming together. And we all know that those inside Twitter, roughly 97 to 99% donated to the Democrat Party. So we all know the Democrats. They all hate Trump. They all dislike him. They have Trump derangement syndrome. And this is what they posted here. The elephant is in the room. It feels like Twitter policies engage with someone acting in bad faith, and we won't acknowledge it. Do we have any belief that Trump will stop tweeting incitements to violence? If Alex Jones was shut down for get your battle rifles, he's far exceeded that standard. I think a lot of employees must share these concerns. Is there any sort of channel or group where we can organize more action? There's a lot of employee advocacy happening both here and then they have another section there. I understand he was our president, and that may have been the reason why we were hesitant to do it, but I think come January 20th, there's absolutely no excuse why his account shouldn't be suspended for good. I have friends with 1K followers that, and then it cuts off there. After citing the public outcry, over 300 folks, Twitter employees, who signed an open letter published in the Washington Post pressuring then Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey to ban Trump, Weiss revealed that Twitter staff assigned to evaluate tweets quickly concluded that Trump had not violated Twitter's policies. And now you're seeing kind of the communication. Some say he did, some say he didn't, some saying we shouldn't do what we're doing, others saying he's a threat to democracy and all these things. He should be banned, he should be suspended. But we're still doing free speech here. It's chaos. It's chaos inside Twitter. Cool. I think we have a hard time saying this is incitement, a staffer said, according to Weiss. It's pretty clear he's saying the American patriots are the ones who voted for him and not the terrorists. We can call them that, right? From Wednesday. Don't see the incitement angle here, another staffer agreed per Weiss. So you're seeing the conflict between staffers here going, well, he did this, but it doesn't apply here. He did that, but it doesn't apply here. And we also see in terms of them interpreting some of his tweets as saying that they are violating it. And you got others interpret it saying he didn't violate it. So this is the stuff that's going on behind the scenes, folks. You had a Twitter policy official similarly writing, I'm also not seeing clear or coded incitement in the Donald Trump tweet. I'll respond in the elections channel and say that our team has assessed and found no violations for the Donald Trump tweet 1. That same person later added, as an FYI, safety has assessed the they're calling it DJT tweet above and determined there was no violation of our policies at this time. So time and time again, you had people in their department of safety going, he didn't violate anything. And you got others saying that he did. And obviously they told us that he did when in fact he didn't. Later, that same person would testify to the House January 6th committee. For months, I had been begging and anticipating and attempting to raise the reality that if we made no intervention in what I saw occurring, people were going to die. Regarding Trump's last tweet announcing he was not attending President Biden's inauguration, Twitter's safety team concluded at the time, it's a clear no violation. It's just to say he's not attending the inauguration. To provide context about this historic nature of Trump's ban from Twitter, Weiss revisited tweets from controversial leaders, and we saw this brought up time and time again, who were allowed to remain on the platform, like Iran's Ayatollah Khamenei, who in 2018 wrote this, #Israel is a malignant cancerous tumor in the West Asian region that has to be removed and eradicated. It is possible and it will happen. He faced 0 consequences. No ban, but they're going to ban Trump. Talk about a threat to democracy. You literally have a guy saying that he wants to freaking exterminate an entire people. Completely okay. Completely fine. Twitter deleted a 2020 tweet from Malaysian Prime Minister who said it was a right for Muslims to kill millions of French people and said the tweet glorifies violence, but the leader remained on the platform. Not banned whatsoever. But Trump says go peacefully protest and he's gone. Twitter gave similar treatment to Nigeria president as well. Quote, less than 90 minutes after Twitter employees had determined that Trump's tweets were not a violation of Twitter policy, Vijaya Gadde, Twitter's head of legal, and you see this person's name come up time and time again. Again, she was the head of legal policy and trust with air quotes for those that are listening, asked where it could in fact be coded incitement for further violence, meaning how can we stretch this out? How can we kind of manipulate this to fit a certain narrative that we want to push of banning this man? Well, a few minutes later, Twitter employees on the scaled enforcement team suggested that Trump's tweet may have violated Twitter's glorification of violence policy if you interpreted the phrase American patriots to refer to rioters. Remember, in the 4th drop that we covered, we talked about how these interpretations were being applied. And when you had the New York Post releasing the evidence of the Hunter Biden laptop, it was used on the grounds of interpretation and to basically err on the side of judgment that this was in fact false. And that's why ultimately they suspended Kayleigh McEnany, the White House press secretary of Donald Trump at the Times account, the New York Post account as well, because they wanted to err on the side of judgment based on their interpretations that they applied. So now you're seeing the same thing here. Quote, things escalate from here, Weiss continued. Members of that team came to view him as the leader of a terrorist group responsible for violence/deaths comparable to Christchurch shooter or Hitler. And on the basis and on the totality of his tweets, he should be deplatformed. This is so, it shows you how Trump derangement syndrome has taken over these people and they've gone so crazy. I was told I can't cuss here on YouTube anymore as we get demonetized now. Well, here's the receipts from Vijaya. Thanks, the biggest question is whether a tweet like the one this morning from Trump, which isn't a rule violation on its face, is being used as a coded incitement to further violence. Again, this is a fun way of going, how can we stretch this out? How can we manipulate it? How can we spin it? Very similar to what Jen Psaki does, Joe Biden himself, and the rest of the Democrat Party, including Karine Jean-Pierre, to get this man banned. If you have any context or insight we should consider, I'm all ears. EJ, use of term American patriots, and they will not be disrespected or treated unfairly in any way, shape, or form. This is an interesting question. I am going to speak with my team as soon as possible to see if we can run a quick survey to get reactions to the language contained in the tweet and get back to you. Well, a few minutes later, again, Twitter employees on the Scaled enforcement team wrote this. Team Scale is asking if we would consider Trump's tweet for government. If we consider American patriots to refer to as rioters, they have a point. From my POV, Team, my laptop is frozen. We will rejoin as soon as possible. Scale has said they understand our position, but will continue to push their GOV assessment with leadership. They see it as he is the leader of a violent extremist group who is glorifying the group and its recent actions. Do you think we should square off? Is Donald Trump assessment, or would it be helpful at this point? Weiss then highlighted the 30-minute all-staff meeting led by Dorsey and Gotti, who were confronted by staffers about Trump and had not been banned. Joel Roth, Twitter's then head of trust and safety, wrote to a colleague, multiple tweets, Twitter employees, have quoted the banality of evil, suggesting that people implementing our policies are like Nazis following orders. After Dorsey had requested simpler language to explain why Trump would be banned, Roth reacted to the staffers, God help us, this makes me think he wants to share it publicly. 1 hour later, Twitter announces Trump's permanent suspension due to the risk of further incitement of violence. Many at Twitter were ecstatic, Weiss wrote, sharing communications from staffers celebrating Trump's ban. Celebrating the ban that they had to manipulate and twist and find anything, any possible way, shape, or form that they could possibly spin this thing to get this man banned and get their way. So you have them all excited here. Feels like a piece of history, some write. Team DJT is suspended. Oh my God, look at they're all ecstatic. They're all jumping up and down with their pigtails and their funny hair. The Trump ban appears to immediately inspire a crackdown on medical misinformation, with Weiss reporting that the next day, a renewed push by the tech giant, according to internal communications. She quoted one staffer who said, for the longest time, Twitter's stance was that we aren't the arbiter of truth, which I respected, but never gave a warm, fuzzy feeling. But, quote, Twitter's COO, Parag Agrawal, and I'm definitely butchering that last name, would later succeed Dorsey as CEO, told head of security, I think a few of us should brainstorm the ripple effects of Trump's ban. Centralized Content Moderation, IMO, has reached a breaking point now. Weiss concluded her thread, ultimately the concerns about Twitter's efforts to censor news about Hunter Biden laptop, blacklist disfavored views, and ban a president are about the past choices of executives in the social media company. They're about the power of a handful of people at a private company to influence the public discourse and democracy. But remember, Trump's a threat to democracy. Not any of these people finding any way, shape, or form they can to ban a sitting president from a social media platform who's just voicing his opinion that didn't violate any of the policies, even though they out in the open, they said that he did. As you can tell, I'm very frustrated with this because I don't like people blacklisting people. I don't like people removing a sitting president. I don't like people suppressing other people's speech, regardless of whether I like it or not. They're going to keep up the Iranian guy, but they're not going to keep up the President Trump. They're going to keep the guys that want to wipe out an entire people, but they're not going to keep Trump. So this is how they're clearly for just craziness, folks. Craziness is what they're all for. Let me know what you think about this one in the comments below, because this stuff is nuts, folks. This stuff is nuts. Well, moving into our next story of the day, we have video here of more than 1,000 migrants crossing the border in El Paso overnight. Now, this isn't uncommon, but it's been a while since we covered what's going on at the U.S.-Mexico border, and we got to keep this stuff in the news, folks, because the Biden administration is mishandling this thing like never before, folks. If you haven't already, hit that like and subscribe button, and also leave us a comment down below. We're doing a campaign here. You leaving a comment, interacting with the channel does yeoman's work in sending our videos out to new viewers who haven't seen our content or our channel, so your help and support would be greatly appreciated. Well, a massive caravan of more than 1,000 migrants crossed the southern border of the United States in El Paso, Texas on Sunday night. Video posted to Twitter by Fox News correspondent Bill Mulligan showed the group wading across the Rio Grande River from Mexico. Quote, a huge migrant caravan of over 1,000 people crossed illegally into El Paso, Texas last night, making it the largest single group we have ever seen. Mulligan tweeted Monday morning, the city of El Paso reports Border Patrol now has over 5,000 in custody and has released hundreds into the city streets. Yes, you heard that correctly. Just released hundreds. They're sitting there not processing some of these people. And we got video of the Biden White House being asked about Title 42. And if these people are being processed, and they lie to you, folks, we got it on tape. They're throwing these people out in the streets. They're letting them loose into the interior of the country. And they're not being processed correctly. Again, you're going to see from Jake Sullivan himself say that they are being processed when in fact they are not. We'll get to that in one moment. According to Mulligan, the migrants could be traced to a series of buses that recently traveled to a Mexican city on the river just south of El Paso. Before the mass of migrants crossed, Mexican police escorted nearly 20 buses. Yes, you heard that correctly. The Mexican police escorted 20 buses full of migrants into a city, the Mexico City, across from El Paso and released them at multiple non-governmental organizations. The migrants then walked from the non-governmental organizations to the river and crossed illegally into El Paso, as you see on the screen. And we also have footage of them being escorted as well. This stuff is wild, you guys. El Paso Matters reported that migrants were part of a caravan stopped in Mexico on Thursday, more than 200 miles from the U.S. border, before being allowed to proceed. The flow cannot be opened, and there is no support for migrants in a specific city that I can't even pronounce. This affects the people of that city, the governor Campos told the outlet. Right now, between 1,200 to 1,500 migrants are coming through Jimenez in the south of the state, guarded by the federal government. Guarded loosely. There is no more space in the shelters. There hasn't been space for quite some time, folks. They're having like 250,000 people come through a month. You break it down per day, it's crazy. And it's only going to get worse when Title 42 is gone. If they arrive in Juarez, we will look out for them, but we are urgently calling on the federal government for help. They're not going to give you help, man. Pfft. Really? 2 years now? This has been going on? They're not going to give you any help. Joe Biden doesn't know what the hell is going on. Joe Biden literally went to a border state and didn't visit the border. And when asked about it, he wasn't going to. And then you had Fox News, Jackie Heinrich asking, hey, well, at any point in 2023, is he going to visit the border? And she was blown off. She was blown off by the Biden administration. There's no plans, you guys. There's no plans. The concerning number of migrants recently entered El Paso comes as many predict unlawful crossings are about to worsen. Title 42, a Trump-era policy that allows agents to turn away migrants due to COVID-19 concerns, is set to expire next week, I believe December 21st. 15 state attorney generals petitioned a federal judge to keep the program alive. Well, here's the White House being asked by Fox News regarding Title 42, and here's what Jake Sullivan has to say here.
Jake, my final question, Jake, if I can ask.
Title 42 is expiring. Do you see a national security, are there national security concerns over the Title 42 expiration?
So the team has been working very hard to ensure that we are taking steps to be able to manage the expiration of Title 42 and to put in place a process that will be orderly and humane. And we believe that in doing so, we can protect our national security concerns. That is a process that others can speak to better than I can, but from my perspective, the issues related to ensuring an orderly, humane migration process at the border are being persistently and constantly addressed through the interagency process, and we are working through what the procedures will be in place at the moment of expiration on the 21st.
Does the U.S. government have any sense of how many people are coming across that there is no visibility on? How many people are crossing that you have no idea who they are?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I understand the question.
Do you have a sense of how many people crossing the border that the U.S. government has no idea? Like estimates of how many people crossing aren't giving their name, aren't giving IDs, aren't able to verify who they are?
So we do have estimates of how many encounters there are at the border on a daily basis. We have processes and procedures in place to identify those individuals, to process them in an orderly fashion, and then...
Orderly fashion? We just got done reading an article here that says it's not very orderly that you're just letting them out in the streets. And by the way, the question itself, to not, get too lost here, was about those that aren't being caught, that those aren't being apprehended or encountered. How are we processing them? But I mean, the guy did kind of a rough job of explaining the question that was proposed because the guy, Jake Sullivan, didn't understand it in the first place. That he's talking about gotaways, those that aren't being apprehended, that they're just making it through unabated, not caught on tape. But, here you have it. Hey, it's all orderly, you guys. Everything down there's orderly. It's not chaos at all. Nope. Even though you have Border Patrol say this place is nuts. It's nuts. We're just letting them pass through at this point. We can't process all these people. But yeah, the White House saying, it's fine. Nothing to see here, folks. No big deal.
To do what is appropriate based on that processing. And we have believed that system is a system that does an effective job of being able to determine who is coming across the border and what the right way to deal with their case is. Yes.
Boy, he's moving on quick, folks, because he knows that what's taking place at the southern border is a disaster. And they have no plans, zero, of fixing it. They'll tell you your face they got it handled. They'll tell your face it's all orderly, even though they don't have room for these people. You have these localities that don't have enough room, that are expected to pay for it out of their own budget, taxpayer dollars, to figure out the situation for all these people without the federal government's assistance. You have certain localities that are upwards of spending $7 million+ on this stuff, going, look, we don't have it in the budget. We can't help these people. We don't have any more room. They're impacting our infrastructure. They're impacting what's going on down here. They're also building entire shelters in New York City where some of these people are being bused to and other places, giving them shelter, giving them a 3-course meal, revolving menu. They're getting Xboxes, plasma TVs, couches, rugs, full get up, full setup. I mean, it's crazy what's going on here, folks, but this is how Democrats want to run things. And you know what, folks? People voted for this again. This is what the people wanted, you guys. They wanted this stuff to happen. So I will continue to cover it here on the Bald Brad Show, but we need to know and be clear that Democrats wanted this stuff, unless they were like a one voting person of going, well, I went with them. I don't like illegal immigration, but I wanted this. They voted for this stuff, you guys, and they will continue to vote for it. They'll vote for their cities being ran into the ground. They'll vote for record illegal immigration. They'll vote for higher taxes. They'll vote for increased homelessness. They'll vote for more looting, more smash and grabs, more violence. They'll vote for all that stuff because they're so scared of Donald Trump. They're so scared of conservative Republicans who want law-abiding citizens to have the right to free speech and their Second Amendment. It is so crazy. I can ramble for hours here, folks, but I think we got the gist of it. We have Elon Musk releasing the fifth installment of the Twitter files. We have the White House still not getting their act together on the southern border with thousands of people crossing the border on tape. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments. And folks, I'll see you tomorrow here on The Bald Brad Show.